the KQ Morning Show podcast wherever you listen. 92 KQRS.
The first time I've only asked for a couple autographs in my life, and one of them was in 1988. I saw Jimmy Page in Atlanta at a strip club. And I walked over to his table, and I said, "Hey, Mr. Page, can I get your autograph, please?" And he was hammered. He's like, sure. And he said, "What's your name?" I said, "Steve." And then he looked at me and waited for me to spell it. And then he scribbled on just a cocktail napkin, "Steve, rock on, Jimmy Page." And I was like, that's the coolest thing ever. Within a couple days, I'm at work at the record store, and there's a guy who came in who's a known autograph collector back then. And he literally came up to me and goes, "I heard you got a Jimmy Page." I'm like, well, you heard, what? How did that word gets around? I mean, you tell I thought that was so weird. Like, I had been in the 3 or 4 days since getting the autograph drunkenly telling everyone I met, but apparently they told people too. And so anyway, he literally goes, "Man, I would give you, is it for sale?" And I was like, "It's for sale? No, what are you talking about? It's just a napkin." And then he looked at me and he goes, "Well, I have a landscaping business. I'll cut your grass for a while." And I said, "I tell you what, you cut my yard for life." And he literally goes, "Okay." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And I was and here's the deal. I was one of 3 tenants in a house we were renting. But the main tenant was my manager at the record store, and he was always angry at me for being late with the rent and being a terrible employee. And so we had some contentious moments. Not only was I his worst employee, I was renting a room in his house. And so I hooked it up so the guy would cut the grass at at his place. And so then I was off the hook for a long time. And then I moved out. And then after I left, he stopped cutting the grass. But I was like, man, I really should have kept in touch with that guy. Because a few years later, I had my own yard, and I could have held that over his head.
I'm pretty sure you would have had the opportunity once again to get Jimmy's autograph. And,
That's true.
Just one of the many, many, many times you guys just hung out casually.
I did tell him that story once. And he was like, "Wait, really?" And I said, and it was me and Robinson, my singer. And I said, "Yeah, we were at the club. We met you, and you gave us both your autograph." And he was laughing. He goes, "Oh, I don't remember that at all, of course." And we're like, "No, why would you?" And then he goes, "Well, do you still have the autograph?" I go, "God, no, I gave it to some weird guy to cut my grass." And he thought it was so funny. He thought that was the funniest thing ever. Yeah. He was just dying.
That's great.
And speaking of Jimmy Page autographs, I think I told this already, but he was in Japan once, and the promoter brought in a very, very wealthy businessman over there. This is back in the 90s, like on a Page plant tour. And this guy had like a vault on wheels, and he opened it up and he showed Jimmy this guitar, and he says, "I have something to show you. When's the last time you saw this?" And he unzips this metal guitar vault, and Jimmy looks at the guitar and he's like, "I don't know what that is." And the guy that goes, "This is your old guitar. You played this on the tour in 1977 or whatever the guy had been told." And Jimmy says, "I've never seen that guitar in my life." And this guy had been conned. He'd paid like a couple $100,000 or something back then for this guitar, and it had been autographed. And Jimmy goes, "That's not even my signature. It doesn't even look anything like it."
Ouch, babe.
And the guy was just crestfallen.
Yeah.
And Jimmy said, "Well, hang on," and he pulled the guitar out and he plugged it into his warm-up amp and he gave it a go and played a little bit. And he may have even, I don't want to make this up, but I'm almost confident, I'm fairly confident he used it on stage that night for one song. And then he actually signed it, and then he handed it back to the guy.
Bravo.
Yeah, good man.
Yeah.
Good man, that James Patrick Page.
The best of the KQ Morning Show.
I guess when you spend your year, being a, quote, professional and doing the job and going to it, then you get a couple of cocktails in you. Yeah, you probably get extra loose. I'm name checking my privilege right here. No holiday party nightmares for me, and I'm happy about that right now. Chris, good morning.
Good morning.
What have you got for us?
Oh, a bad story.
Oh, I like it already.
About 5 or 6 years ago, we had a Christmas party, and I was standing at a table with a couple of coworkers, and another coworker who had been out dancing her ass off came walking up to us, and she had projectile vomit right at us. I turned my head, but it ended up in my mouth.
No.
All over my face. It was so bad.
Oh, you got the vomit kiss.
So I ran to the bathroom, and then I was throwing up, and people thought I was the problem child, and I'm like, no. And went outside, whipped my shirt off. I was just covered with her vomit. It was bad.
Oh, my God.
Please tell me there was all sorts of gifts sent to you over the following months. I mean, how do you make up for throwing up on a coworker?
She gave me $25 on Monday to pay for my purse, because my purse was full of vomit, so I threw that out.
Oh, my God.
I can still taste it.
Oh.
What it tastes like.
Oh, gross. It was sour.
Sour.
Oh.
Anytime I have to throw up, I just think of that story, and I'm out.
Yeah.
And she apologized a few times, but it took me a while to talk to her.
Yeah, I watched
That's
someone
amazing.
puke all over a boss one time. She was crying in his arms.
Jeez, man. All the gin puke and all the Christmas parties in the world, and you had to come and lay it down on me. Chris, you've set a bar really high for the rest of this show.
Or
If anybody
low.
can top that, all the best. I hope you get through this next month vomit-free, Chris.
That's horrible. There was a woman I know at an office holiday party who had also thrown up all over her dress and was completely unaware of it.
Oh,
and just
yeah,
walking around
yeah.
making small talk with people. Just painted up.
I played a New Year's Eve party. Me and my brother and some friends in college. We were called Alfred and the Stately Wayne Manners, which was a
nice.
great band name. There was a girl in the party named Robbie, and she was wearing a white dress and she was dancing and having the time of her life. And at one point, she was dancing on a chair, and she went right over the arm and just bam, and she smashed her face on the floor so hard. She was so drunk. She popped up and kept dancing. And she was bleeding.
Oh, God.
I mean, it looked like the Zapruder film. And she's just like, come on, let's go. And my brother looked at her. He goes, she had been wearing a white dress up to that point. He goes, Robbie, you look great in red.
Oh, nice.
That's one of the best lines in the moment I'd ever heard in my life. I was like, wow.
The best of the KQ Morning Show.
Immediate Family is the story of 4 session musicians who played on every record you've ever loved, basically. Director Denny Tedesco and bassist, legend around the Gorman household and any other musician's household, Leland Sklar. Danny Tedesco and Leland Sklar join us on the KQ Morning Show. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning.
It is an absolute pleasure to speak with you both. Immediate Family available on demand as of today. I want to start with you, Lee. Like any great story, or any of the ones I love anyway, this one is definitely not the result of grand design. No master plan whatsoever, was there?
No, I was completely taken aback when it was pitched to us from Denny that they wanted to do this, and I'm profoundly flattered and still kind of surprised that we were the subject of a documentary.
You're 4 session musicians, all young guys when you get together, and you're just looking for the next gig. You're happy that your phone rings. At no point back in the days when you were starting could you ever, I'm assuming, have imagined that, you'd be on the phone right now talking about these incredible recordings that have all become a part of our lives.
No, absolutely not. I mean, when our careers all began, I mean, we were just like in our early 20s and just happy to be employed musicians. Still feel that way to a great extent. And you never foresaw the future or the impact these songs would have. I mean, we were just thrilled to be working with our fellow musicians, and plus I was such a fan of the Wrecking Crew, and you kind of at that point in your career, you never feel you could ever be like these people. It was, they were, the benchmark of the recording industry. And then to find ourselves like this, it's really amazing to me. This has been a remarkable journey that we've been on, and the fact that it's just picking up steam and momentum at this point is really remarkable to me. But I'm still one of these guys that when the phone rings, I'm giddy.
Sure.
I love it.
Leland Sklar, Russ Kunkel, Waddy Wattel, and Danny Korchmar. Now, to a lot of people, everybody knows Carole King, James Taylor, Linda Ronstadt, the names on the front of the record. But I grew up in a house. I'm a drummer. I had an older brother, guitarist, and he was a big liner note guy. Therefore, I became one. So your names were very familiar to me. For musicians of my the next generation of guys, you were the household names for all of us. And Danny Tedesco, you directed this documentary. I want to ask you, these songs, these albums that these 4 gentlemen are all a part of, it's for you to put a documentary together. It's like looking at like a sandwich from the Carnegie Deli. How do you even know where to start? How do you what was your thought on this? How do you begin? What's the way in? Because it's like a Mount Rushmore of recordings.
It's weird. Excuse me, my voice is gone. In a weird way, it actually helps me because it sets the tone. I start doing my research going, oh, my God, he did this, he did this. Like when I found out Leland was on Billy Cobham's Spectrum, that was one of my favorite albums growing up. I didn't realize Leland had been on that. I forgot. if I had remembered.
Right.
And so there's a lot of things like that kept coming up. I kept buying albums, over the last 4 years to do the research. And then I started seeing all these songs that I never heard because it was on the B side. And I'm listening. It was a phenomenal education for me. It's fun.
Sure it is. Immediate Family is the documentary. It's available on demand today. Danny, I got to figure, you sat down and interviewed, obviously not just the 4 subjects, but the artists they played with. I mentioned a few of the names: Carole King, James Taylor, Stevie Nicks, Cross, Jackson Browne, all these household names. You must have had multiple extra hours of footage. I can't imagine it was easy to get them to stop talking about these players.
No, that's why I always say God gave us DVDs.
Yeah, great. That's just fantastic. Lee, you guys, the 4 of you, obviously great players. You're ringers, great feel and great intuition. So to me, it makes perfect sense that these artists at the time would gravitate to you. It's when you look back on the stuff you've played on, it's like an embarrassment of riches. The songwriting was absolutely up to the snuff of y'all's playing.
Mm-hmm. It was really like a golden age period for this, especially the singer-songwriter. But I have to say that really one of the reasons why everything, I think, worked as well as it did, we really owe to Peter Asher, who was managing and producing James Taylor at the time. He was one of the very first people who insisted that our names appear on the album jacket, where with the previous generation of the Wrecking Crew and musicians of that ilk, they were really pretty much invisible to the audience. When people were listening to Mamas and Papas and the Association and Frank Sinatra and all of that, they didn't know it was the same musicians on all that. But Peter put our names on it, on James's record. So when James hit, and he hit hard, when they started signing, the labels started signing singer-songwriters to their labels because of the success they were seeing with James. They looked at James's records and saw all our names on it and said, well, if those guys are good enough for James Taylor, let's track them down. Mm-hmm. And before you knew it, we were like the first call musicians in town, kind of without making any effort. It was really due to Peter's exposure of us, and then they loved what they heard. So, it was kind of this perfect storm came together for all of us.
Peter Asher's one of those guys, not unlike yourself, where the more you learn about what he's done, the more you're like, wait a minute, this guy's been everywhere. He's got a hand in so many great things.
Peter's remarkable. He's an absolute, this business wouldn't be what it is without Peter.
Yeah, well, wow, that's a very strong and very accurate statement for sure. The movie is, it's called Immediate Family documentary. It's available on demand today here in the Twin Cities. It's at the St. Michael's Cinema. They've got showtimes this weekend. So this was at a time, if we're going to go back to the beginning, we're talking about the early 70s, and the golden era for singer-songwriters. Like, how many sessions in a normal week would you have? Were you guys playing 7 days a week for a while there, Lee?
Oh, well, there's a lot of times we were working three sessions a day, usually 6 days a week. Mm-hmm. It was really insane because when I went in and did my first session, I had never been in the studio before except to cut one demo. And all of a sudden we were working around the clock trying to create a craft that we really had no experience in. So it was a real kind of like guerrilla warfare in there, trying to figure out what the hell we were doing during, while being the main guys getting called for work. So it was an adventure. I pinch myself every day that we even survived it. It's amazing.
There are plenty of people who didn't, to be sure. Yeah. And I do have to say, I almost forgot. Just as a drummer, I've ripped off Russ Kunkel as often as I possibly could. It's a constant reference point for so many drummers when you're thinking about a song and how does someone set up those choruses, those fills. Off kilter almost. There's so many very, very subtle syncopated things he does. He's literally one of my favorite drummers ever. I couldn't tell you the number of bassists I know that name check you right there at the top of the list. Just as a rhythm section, was that an immediate click? Is it one of those things where the first time you played with him, you went, okay, yeah, I'm on this guy?
I can measure it in nanoseconds. The minute we sat down and played together, it was like this absolute lock. I love Russ, and the thing I love about Russ's playing is there's a lot of great drummers in Los Angeles, but a lot of guys they're time drummers. Or Russ really plays more orchestrally.
Yeah,
he really thinks about parts that are really a little out of the box. And when you think of like Country Road and things like that in those days to be doing what he was doing with brushes. Where most guys, the brush was just something you do in a little cocktail kit doing, like a casual.
Yeah. And
he really brought it to the forefront. So Russ is really a unique drummer. He really thinks so much about what parts he's laying down, and I love playing with Russ. I mean, I always tell people, I said, when we get together, it's like digging into the closet and finding that old pair of slippers that you put on and you go, oh God, it feels good.
Like Fire and Rain is I can't tell you how many times I've said, no, pull that up and just listen to the drums. Like, you're told in studio musicians a lot, it's like, get out of the way of the song. And it's like, or make it that much better if you're Russ Kunkel.
Yeah.
Truly
Absolutely.
Tremendous. Hey, Danny, so this and Wrecking Crew, I mean, my gosh, what that's, you got your arms around the two greatest group of session players ever. I guess your next documentary is just going to be you and a bunch of people at Apple with some AI programs. I mean, that's where we're headed, sadly enough. We're just not going to have guys like this, I think, for our kids to enjoy.
It's funny. No, I think the next one about Wolfman Jack.
Oh, all right, Tedesco, you're making us all happy over here. For any group of folks that work together, you in any realm, you hear about an unspoken language. Lee, you guys literally have had that for 50 years together, and we're all the recipients of that gift, and I just want to say thank you for everything.
Well, thank you so much, and I'm so proud of Danny and the team that put this film together, because when I sit there and watch it, it still blows my mind every time I see it.
It blows my mind to get to talk with you, sir. Thanks so much. Guys, both of you, best of luck with the film. I can't wait to see it.
Thank you, Minneapolis.
You got it.
The best of the KQ Morning Show.
Back to the best of the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
Kids ask a lot of questions. The younger the kid, the more the questions they ask. My kids are 23 and 21, and the only thing they ask is, where's some money? Let's have it.
Yeah.
But when they were little, they were asking a lot of questions. A poll of parents with kids 6 and under found the average child asks 11 questions a day. That's over 4,000 a year. Zep, our kids are kind of the same age. Tony's got younger kids. I'm just glad that I raised kids in a time where there was Google, because my kids would ask me questions all the time. What is thunder? And I'd be like, hang on, give me a sec. Because I wanted to be able to give them information. When I was a kid, and I would look at my parents and say, like, what is thunder anyway? I mean, literally the answer was usually something like, finish your Brussels sprouts.
Yeah,
it was just, it's there. I don't know. Ask your teacher. To a kid, their parents, you're the sun and the moon and the stars. You're gravity. You're the universe. And it's a lot of pressure. And I just didn't want to be the universe that didn't know anything. A lot of Googling going on.
I just thought the sooner I let them down, the sooner we can get on and get back to our lives.
Get used to the disappointment.
Yeah,
Attaboy.
Yeah, you don't get to know that. I did hear one time that wasn't my kid, but it was fantastic. And the son asked, Dad, are there infinite words? And he said, no, there aren't infinite words, but there are infinite numbers. Kid sat there for a second and thought and said, well, if there's a word for every number, then there must be infinite words.
Good point.
Dad said, just finish yours.
Oh, wow.
I know. When they outsmart you, they do that sometimes, too.
That literally just made me feel like Pinto in Animal House. Oh, wow, man. Could I buy some pot from you, Zep?
Yes, you can.
I posed to Hudson and August just a couple days ago the old what came first, the chicken or the egg, and you could just see the smoke coming out of their ears as they thinking so hard. Then they started to wrestle.
Yeah, wrestling. That solves everything.
We're not going to come up with an answer, but we're going to hurt each other. Is that work, Dad? Is that cool? Is that going to help? Oh, I love that. I love you just stumping the band like that, and then them turning to violence to come to a peaceful resolution through violence. That's good sibling action right there. The story of why, about like biology and body parts that my daughter asked when she was 3 started because of a statement she made. She was misinformed. At her brother's birthday, she just said, when I'm 5 and I get my penis, I think what I'm going to do is go to the... And I mean, the room just stopped.
Right.
And I said, Marley, what? Just when I'm 5 and I get my penis. I was thinking that And her brother, who's turning 5, he just goes, "You're not gonna get a penis," and laughing, and she was devastated, and why she thought that was going to happen, and so of course we're like, "Honey, that's true. You're not. So why did you think that?" And she was like, I just thought. And she basically said, "I swear I thought one of you told me that once." Like she was trying to cover, even at 4. So that led to a whole question and answer period about biology. That was a tough one. We had a question earlier in the show that sparks every year around this time. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? This is not me just trying to throw gas on a fire. I'm always blown away that people get so agitated by the question, because to me, it's so clearly and obviously and fundamentally a Christmas movie. I just don't understand what the controversy is.
That's the controversy. People want to get worked up because, no, it's not about Christmas. It's just an action movie that was set at Christmas time. Yeah. Right, exactly. The action of Christmas.
The movie starts with Christmas music. There's Christmas imagery throughout, and the whole premise of the film is this guy's flying west to see his wife for the holiday, for Christmas, to see if they can patch up their marriage. Of course it's a Christmas movie. That's just crazy to me.
What's happening when the terrorists get there? What are they involved in? The Christmas party.
It's a Christmas party,
Christmas party, yeah. It's Christmas. It's really kind of just a retelling of that whole Santa tale, just with machine guns and swearing and explosions.
And Santa Claus, I believe he's originally German, and
Hans Gruber.
Hans Gruber, he's on the Mount Rushmore of all time bad guys in a movie, isn't he?
Oh, yes.
Alan Rickman. Now, the one time he finally shows some when he has real passion, or he allows his emotions to take over, is when Holly says, "You're just a common criminal, a thief." He goes, "I'm an exceptional thief," or whatever, that whole thing. Like, that's what gets his fangs out, I also never understood this question. Is a hot dog a sandwich? Is anybody on this show going to say, yes, it's a sandwich?
No.
If it's going to irritate you, I will.
No, but I mean, the fact that people literally say that, well, it's meat and it's between bread, so that's a sandwich. No, it's not. No. A hot dog's a hot dog, a hamburger's a hamburger, and turkey and cheese is a sandwich. This is not difficult.
What if you split the hot dog down the middle, open her up, put it on a slice of bread, not a bun? What about that, Steve Gorman?
If you do that, A, you're weird, and B, call it what you want. But if you're just talking a straight up Wiener, a hot dog in a bun as God intended, that's just a hot dog. There's no reason to call it a sandwich.
Yeah, I agree. My grandmother used to do that, by the way. Cut them down. And Grandma, why are you cutting the hot dogs and flattening it? Why are you doing that? Because she didn't like it rolling around in the microwave. So a flat hot dog.
That's so smart.
I talked to a guy once. I was working a landscaping job. We had just gotten a Burger King for the first time in town. And one of the guys I was working with, he said, "My dad went over that Burger King and he got himself a Whopper. He said that's the best damn sandwich he ever had." And I just never forgot. I was like, a Whopper's not a sandwich. He called it a sandwich. And Whopper sandwich. I'm like, well, it's just a Whopper. It's a burger. We had this whole conversation. And eventually I could tell, like, he's about to slap me if I don't shut up about this.
I heard an older woman do that one time. She was in a McDonald's. She said, "I'll have a McDonald's sandwich." First of all, it's wrong. And can you be more specific?
Yeah. That's great.
Like my dad, when we were a kid and we went to McDonald's, and they had just had the chicken McNuggets had just rolled out, and Dad wanted to know if he could get a thigh and a leg. They're like, no, Dad. We're not even sure there's chicken in it, Dad.
Man,
thigh and a leg.
How about this? Here's a question. Apparently, that's a divisive question. Again, I'm not a scientist, and I guess this is how we know. Does a straw have one hole or two?
It doesn't have any holes. It's a tube.
Yeah, one hole or two. According to science, it's one hole. It's one long hole.
I would agree with that. Strongly.
Not
agree.
me. I'd immediately go, no, there's two holes. There's the in and the out hole. Suck in, blow out, whatever. The smarty pants out there would laugh at me and say exactly what Candace just did, which is no, it's one. It's just the whole thing's a tube. The whole thing's one long hole. There's a reason that science is not for me, because that will never make sense.
Well, let me question you this then. Riddle you this. Does it have a top or a bottom? A straw?
Yes. The top is the part in my mouth, and the bottom is the part that's in the milkshake.
There you go.
Yeah, that's exactly what that is. Mm-hmm. And one I'll just answer really quickly. Is it okay to wear socks with sandals? The answer is, of course, if you don't mind looking like a jerk.
So every athlete in the world has socks, ankles taped and that whole thing, and then they put on their flip-flop. You slide into those things, your little... Does that count?
Yeah, well, are they slides or flip-flops? With the toe separated.
I mean, they slide.
They call them thongs.
You can't do a flip-flop with the toe thing if you've got the sock on.
You can force it.
But, right. So, I mean, that's what I do. I mean, I wear socks and slide-ons all the time.
Oh,
that's what I mean. It's unacceptable if you care about how it looks. If you don't care, like me, let it rip. I still wear Birkenstocks, or as some people call them, Jesus cruisers. And I will... When the winter months come, some days I want to wear those, and yes, I will put on a pair of socks and rock a Jesus Cruiser right over it. And I know it looks ridiculous, and I just don't care, Candace.
Well, you look ridiculous.
Do you remember Earth shoes? What happened to those?
I don't remember Earth shoes.
You don't remember Earth shoes? Yeah, well, they were like you're walking in sand, so the front was thicker than the back. The sole. Seriously, you don't remember Earth shoes?
No, I guess
What really era is this?
It's like 70s.
Sounds like the 70s. So that's going to be, let's see, Mrs. Lee, that's Earth shoes for the boy in a 9. And does he want the Ant Farm or does he want the Habit Trail? It just sounds like such a
He wears
shtick.
the Huskies, doesn't he?
All right.
But sorry, I just got to say, that's a word that got lost to the ages. Husky. That's a throwback from day one. Yeah.
The best of the KQ Morning Show.
Last weekend, a group of young men, having ingested what they called magic mushrooms, found themselves way up high in the mountains of Keswick and had to call for help. The mountain rescue team, they're up there constantly finding people in all manner of difficulty. Not that often that you get a bunch of guys who are literally just seeing, I think I saw Nessie. I saw the Loch Ness Monster. Just tripping balls. And I'm reading the story, I should say, and I'm thinking about that. And having done many hikes in my life and also having ingested mushrooms on occasion, I would never think that those two things would go together. I love getting in touch with nature. That's something to me, if you're going to be tripping, get a hammock. Just lay in a nice rope hammock, maybe in between two pine trees, and just sway in the breeze. Gearing up with hiking equipment and then going for it, a multi-mile steep terrain while tripping on mushrooms. Man, not at all something that would sound remotely interesting to experience.
I do extreme stuff, so I don't have to get high. And if I'm totally bored and just sitting around the house, then that's a great time to get stoned out of your mind. It reminds me of a story we did a few years ago about this cop that confiscated some pot and decided to go home and bake it into some brownies, and he and his wife ate the brownies. Well, pot ain't what it used to be. I mean, there's got a lot more THC in there now, and he got super stoned, and the cop called 911 on himself. This is from the local news story. This is the police officer, followed by the news crew.
I think I'm having an overdose, and so is my wife.
Overdose of what?
Marijuana. I don't know if it had something in it. Can you please send rescue?
Did you guys have fever or anything?
No, I think we're dying.
Okay, how much did you guys have?
I don't know. We made brownies, and I think we're dead. Time is going by really, 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 really slow.
Well, instead of being charged... Instead of being charged, the police department let the officer resign. His wife was not charged either. So far, police officials have not commented on the case.
Now, how do you follow a story like that?
Wow.
I'm so wasted.
Time is going really, really slowly. I can relate to that, the time slowing thing. I was never a good stoner. I tried. I mean, I was in a perfect environment to become a good stoner. I was in a band where everybody else, or most of the other guys, were smoking weed all the time. I've played exactly one gig really stoned, and it was an absolute nightmare because you might think I played really slow and sluggishly. It was the exact opposite because my brain was moving so slowly. I've heard the music as dragging and being sluggish, so I was overcompensating by playing like a hamster in a wheel. I was flying, and in my brain, it couldn't get fast enough. I was like, songs are stuck in mud, and I'm up there going, and the whole band is looking at me going, slow down. They were furious, and I'm like, you're the guys that told me to get stoned before the show. Completely the exact opposite of what you'd expect. But yeah, and it only took once, and I realized this is not a good idea. It was every moment of that gig was an eternity. But apparently, it was the fastest gig we ever played. But it took 9 hours for me. Indianapolis, Indiana. Again, I apologize to anybody who was there. We all were really good at not, my dad would come in and go, "Who did this?" And the 3 stone-faced, poker-faced champions right there in the room looking at him like, there were times when we would be called in and my dad would say, "I'll let you start." And I would go, I have no idea where this is going. None whatsoever.
I do have a short montage, and these are little kids. You talk about just lying coming naturally,
Sure.
not having to be learned. These are just some little kids getting busted.
Who took the bite out of the cookie?
It was a birdie who flapped.
Are you sure?
I'm sure he did. Oh no. What happened to my dress?
What is it?
It's makeup.
Who did it?
Nobody did it.
Who drew on Mommy's couch?
Me.
You or May?
Me.
May did it?
May is Grandma who's sitting there, so Grandma did it.
That'll happen. When my kids were about 9 and 7, I was yelling at my son, and I left the room, and I heard my daughter say, "Just tell him what he wants to hear. He'll leave quicker."
The best of the KQ Morning Show.
Back to the best of the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
Porn site Browsers just released the 10 weirdest types of porn that got a surprisingly high number of searches this year. And Minnesota shows up with one of them with the most searches.
It always does. Every year, Minnesota's very high on the list.
The most searches in Minnesota for this weird type of porn.
Fluffies.
Pokemon. Pokemon porn. Candace, what the hell are you watching?
Well, I love Pokemon. I just don't know if I need it that way.
How's it spelled? Is it Pokemon?
Weird.
Well, different strokes for different folks. I don't Minnesota with the most searches there. Well, the winters get long, don't they? Alien porn. Tony, now I'm looking at you.
Okay, fair enough.
Curious what that looks like.
Well, think of Star Trek. And Kirk was always getting it on with some sexy extraterrestrial of some sort.
Yeah, I always wanted to get it on with a green woman. Old man. Now, wait a minute.
Wow.
Why is that weird? What's wrong with old man porn?
What?
I'm just saying. I'm ready to go, Coach. Yeah, poop porn. That's always weird. We just don't understand it, right? I mean, it's what trips someone's trigger. I know a gal once that only could have an orgasm when she had to poop. So she'd be like, "Oh, I gotta go really bad. Can we? Do you mind?" I'm like, "I'm sure," because she would have something that it put pressure on something inside there.
So you took her out for tacos like nightly,
constantly bringing home prune juice again. I'm gonna make you a cosmopolitan with this fantastic prune juice I picked up today.
New twist on the old fashioned.
Hairy porn.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. We have a taker over here. Candace is clicking on hairy porn.
Yeah, I'd rather have hair than bear,
You're talking about a guy with a big macho hairy chest, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's very, Tom Selleck right there. I don't know who pops into my mind when I think of hairy dudes.
Pop in there quick.
Top of the, I'm just saying. It just seems like a cool guy, too, to have a beer with. All right, Star Wars porn. Now I'm looking at myself. Do we just put on the Princess Leia head bun kind of thing? Or someone puts on a C-3PO helmet and away you go? May the Force be with you! Well, that seems a bit aggressive, doesn't it? Sister porn. Let's hope that's down south. I don't think that's in Minnesota. We're classy, enlightened individuals when it comes to our porn.
Maybe it means, hate to say it, a nun.
Oh, okay. Wait a second. That's got my attention. That's taboo.
Or like
forbidden.
polygamists,
Sure.
Sister wives.
Yes.
I don't know.
Then we get up to milking porn.
Oh.
I don't know what to do with that one either. I mean, it's milking, mammaries, boobs, but milking, Out of this list, everyone listening, including the three of us, is going to go Google one of these, at least. 2, burglar porn. That doesn't seem that weird, that whole forbidden intruder kind of thing. Coming in and, no, don't hurt me, take me. The number 1, a weird porn search. Again, disturbing, but not illegal, I guess. Step-parent porn. Just good old, again, taboo, right? They're not my actual parents. So they're a step parent. I'm a teenager, not of age, let's say 18. And mom goes out and gets a new husband, and he's Harry, Candace, and he's really into Pokemon, and you just find yourself alone with him, and right, boy, that went fast. We're already out of time.
The best of the KQ Morning Show.
Letterman returning to the scene of the crime, at least his CBS show. Stephen Colbert, welcome Letterman back. I saw some clips, and honestly, I was surprised at how kind of goosebumpy it was for me. I grew up a Letterman fanatic, so it was pretty awesome to see.
My guest tonight certainly needs no introduction. Please welcome back to the Ed Sullivan Theater, Mr. David Letterman.
Stephen, control your people. I will say this is the most enthusiastic audience I have been near since the night I announced I was quitting.
Oh, you got to have that bass slide there, the rim shot and the boom.
Sure.
I remember first seeing David Letterman 1982. I want to say 1982. Before he started, late nights after Johnny Carson, they had him on NBC early morning.
Yeah,
when us farm kids used to get up. And I remember one morning, and he had the big curly hair. He couldn't have looked goofier. Nope. We became accustomed to his look after a while, right? But there, I thought, who the heck is that? And he was young, and he was weird, and he was trying to figure out how to operate a forklift. They had forklifts there in the NBC studio, and he just walked over. He said, "Here, let me see that. Can I drive? Show me how to work this thing." And it seemed very spontaneous and impromptu, and I became a fan that day and remained for many, many years.
Sure.
Until late night television became irrelevant.
That was must watch every night.
Yeah.
Tony, you as a guy who started writing and then even performing comedy and going into it, I look at you and it just hits me. I'm like, oh, Letterman is just everything. I mean, sure, in those years especially, because you were a few years older than me, and what Letterman was doing to me when late night started, you had a few years of experience. It probably hit you even deeper.
That was the dream, is to someday be involved with that show somehow. I knew a guy who submitted a couple jokes, and he was like a god just for having any involvement whatsoever. Yeah, Dave changed it all. It was you had to watch it.
Yeah.
It shaped humor.
It truly did. It was so. I mean, you say whatever, irreverent or left of center in terms of comic. It was so unexpected. But I never got the sense he was trying to be weird. He was just weird. You know what I mean? Like they just thought differently. And for me, the late night show started. I'm in 11th grade. Just a perfect time to have a wide open brain looking for new information to fill it. And it's. I mean, I played on Letterman a bunch with the band, and I've talked to other musicians. Now, I mean, for stand-up comics, for writers, for performers, going on Letterman's a huge deal. For every band you talk to, if you ever talk to a musician, especially in a rock band that was ever on Letterman, that was the one you wanted. I mean, more than any other talk show, it was like, man, did you did Dave? How was he? Was he cool? I mean, there was something about Dave that just crossed over right to bands. And famously, well, like there's a band called The National that was on last night because Dave asked them to come on. Stephen Colbert said, come on my show. And Dave said, can we have The National? And then, of course, his final show, he had the Foo Fighters come out because he had a very deep connection with that band after his heart attack. He listened to a lot of their music. He was just a guy that to for whatever it's worth, and the first time we played Letterman in 1990, I didn't even play. They didn't even allow the rhythm section of the Black Crowes to play. It was the house band and our singer and guitarists. And I was still, I wasn't upset at all. I couldn't believe, like Tony, like your friend got a couple jokes submitted. He was just being in the studio there. I was in absolute shock. I was looking for Larry Bud Melman. I was,
the stage.
I was looking for the Alka-Seltzer suit. I'm thinking about all the things and in my dorm, that's the thing, man. Late night TV. I mean, where is it now? What is the point almost? Do you know anybody that watches late night TV in real time?
Well, he was kind of the first to blend smart and silly seamlessly. One of my favorite moments on that show is they had a little bit, it was called Supermarket Finds. It was just ridiculous where they would go and look at silly things that you'd find on the shelves of grocery stores.
Yeah.
But for the theme song, all of a sudden the screen burst open and it was Tom Jones singing the theme to Supermarket Finds.
Sure.
Just preposterous.
Yeah.
But you never knew what was going to happen.
Oh, when he was on CBS, he'd leave the late night. I mean, he'd walk around there just to the deli, get a little something from the deli. And
Yes,
turn
hello,
your entire
deli.
day. Well, Steve, you were on the Black Crowes, that is, on more than just the late night with David Letterman show. And you said you didn't have much interaction with him. How was it different than being on, say, the Conan show?
Well, the Letterman show was always we never saw him. We never crossed paths. You'd go to your dressing room, you'd go rehearse, you'd spend the whole afternoon there getting ready for the show. And like Paul Schaefer and the band, always, hey, what's going on? How you doing? Remembered everyone's name every time. Super pros, great guys. They want to talk about gear. You watch the guitar players go have their little guitar gear jerk off in the corner, like whatever. But but great guys. And Dave was just never around. You'd see him when he'd come over. The song would end, he'd shake your hand, and that's the only time we ever saw the guy. But that was okay. Like it seemed to be perfectly acceptable that he was just unavailable somehow. Conan was the exact opposite. He just wanted to hang out with the band. He was like, and he would say like, sorry, just tell me to leave if I'm bugging you with my questions, and it was kind of exactly what you would expect. Also, but that was also awesome. Those were the two best ones to do every time, both because they're in New York, there's a different energy. We never did Carson. We did the Tonight Show in Jay Leno's first week as the host in 92. And I was not a Leno guy, and I was already, and of course, like everyone, I'd taken sides, and I was pro Dave and anti Jay. But when we did Leno, also, I mean, I didn't care for his show, but he was a great guy. Always came in, said hi, did the thing. What's you doing? Need anything? Let me know. Couldn't have been a nicer fella. But again, at the end of all of it, never once met Dave, and that was always the coolest place to be for some reason. It was like just because it was Dave, and that takes me right back to 1982 in a small town in Kentucky, looking at my TV going, I'm not even sure what's happening, but I just need to be a part of that somehow.
Have you ever seen the video of him sucking on Jennifer Aniston's hair?
I have not.
No. It's real creepy.
He's a creepy guy, but boy, was he funny. And
sometimes you gotta be creepy to be funny.
Have you guys watched his Netflix show, his new interview show?
Yeah, a couple episodes.
I mean, what a and without the constraints of network people telling him to remember to do this. I mean, him just sort of unfiltered and unfettered. He really is just brilliant. I mean, what an insightful, smart man. And it's, I don't know, I'm a card-carrying fan. And so anyway, to see him walk out there last night, all white hair, white beard, looking great, it just made, I was really happy.
I think someone tweeted emaciated Santa. This is Colbert asking Letterman last night after his years in late-night television what he misses most.
What do you miss about it? After all those 4,000 shows, what do you miss most about doing, if there is anything?
I miss everything. I mean, mostly it's fun. Very few things in life provide one the opportunity, and I can't speak for you or to you on this topic, but for me, if you muck one up, 24 hours later, you get to try again. And that's a pretty good device. And then when you do something that you're really proud of, you think, by God, let's do that again. And 6-7 years later, you have that experience once more.
Yeah, we can relate.
Get the KQ Morning Show podcast wherever you listen. 92 KQRS.